Welcome to Sacred Magic. Violet is on a quest to bring sacredness back into our everyday experiences. Anyone can have an extraordinary life when they are able to tap into their sacred magic within. Violet and her guests will be sharing their divine passions, inspirations, and stories of connecting with their sacred magic. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Vialet Rayne.
Hi everyone, welcome to Sacred Magic. I'm your host, Vialet B Rayne, and today my guest is Jen Haddix. She is a spiritual business coach, certified sound healer, reiki practitioner, 200 RYT yoga teacher, a vocalist, and a ceremony retreat facilitator. Having done a lot of healing work on herself over the years, she's come to believe that all the answers and healing we need are already within us. We just need to find the tools to help us access it. She is passionate about helping humans connect with their soul gifts and radiate their medicine out into the world. She believes that we live in this matrix and our job on earth is to break free from the societal constraints so that we can elevate the world and make it a better place. Welcome, Jen, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
I love your website because I've been all over it this morning and bestie this, and we're going to be friends. I love how you connect. And if, you know, what I would do is encourage everyone to go check out our website because she has what she likes and what she doesn't like and what she connects with. It's very personal, fun, and playful is how I would describe her website and her direction. So it's really kind of cool. So I'm so excited to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you for that reflection. I love hearing that because it's funny being a coach for so long and you go in and out of programs and people are always like, oh, you know, maintain a certain amount of professionalism and authority, and I just become best friends with all my people. I'm just like bestie energy. I can't help it. I just love everyone. So that's just kind of how I run my business.
I love that. I love that. It's a really personal kind of different approach. And, coaches, there's so many coaches, and when they can find their niche of where they're at and who they're working with and what they do, it makes them really powerful and effective because they really understand who they are and who they're helping. And so I can definitely feel that energy when I look at your website. So with that, what got you to be a coach today? What took you on this journey? Because I'm sure you didn't start out at 18 being a coach and helping people. So what took you down this path to really do what you do today?
Gosh, I mean, it's so many different things. I usually start this story, and it's funny because I'm slowly beginning to let go of this story because I don't want it to define who I am, but it's in there. But basically, I guess probably my first dark night of the soul was back in 2016. And I got diagnosed bipolar and I was in like a really, really dark place. I was in a yoga teacher training. I was running a pet sitting company, but I was just really depressed. I was just having a really hard time. And so I got on meds and I was doing this whole thing and I really didn't want to do that. And so this teacher showed up in my life. She was a homeopath. She helped me homeopathically get off of my medication. And it was just kind of like the first door opening to, oh my gosh, there's so much more than this box that I live in. There is so much more than all of these things that I think are real. And with the yoga teacher training and my homeopathic teacher, I just kind of started to dive deeper into everything spiritual. I'd never really considered myself I was always spiritual, but it just opened that door. And so people always ask me this, like, how did you become as woo-woo as you are today? And I'm like, it's just been kind of a long process of diving down different rabbit holes and learning different tools and basically my own healing, like looking at my own crap and going, okay, like, I don't want to identify with that anymore. What do I do? How do I start to let go of all these stories that are clearly not working for me anymore? So it started with that. And then back in 2021, I consider myself, I think I'm clairaudient. I don't really see a lot, but I hear voices sometimes, and I just kind of have a lot of audio going on. I got a little download that told me to buy some singing bowls. And I'm like, okay, I don't really have the money for that. And I don't know how to play them, and I've heard them in yoga, but I don't really know what to do with that information. But I have a background in musical theater and singing, and I've always loved music, and so the download kept coming through. And so eventually I just spent all the money I had on these bowls, and it opened up this entire wing of my business that has come to be like the biggest part of what I do with singing and frequency and vibration and sound healing and certifying other sound healers. And so it's just been this sort of process of healing. And the more you heal, the more you find, like it's like an onion. You're just continually peeling back the layers, like, oh, there's more. Oh, there's more. Oh, there's more. Let me learn a new tool for that. Let me try something else. And I am committed to doing this for the rest of my life and probably lifetimes beyond. I love it so much. I don't know.
I love that. I love the aspect of stories, right? Because
Mhm.
we can get stuck in our old story, and stories are important because they are part of who we are. They're how we've gotten from point A to point B. And I believe most healers on this planet, probably all of them, have had their own mess that they've had to clean up, their own struggles that they've had to work through, their own challenges and wounds. I think that's what makes them really powerful healers. My story is really that wound and pain, but I don't share a lot of it anymore unless I feel like it's necessary. But it's interesting, the people that come to me to work with me have definitely had the same wounds or similarities, which give us compassion and empathy and understanding of what they're going through because we know what it felt like when we went through it ourselves. So I love that. And I always tell people, if you can change your story, you can change your reality. And what we're saying and what we continue to put out there, we create. So how do you weave that story into a positive aspect of what it brought me, what blessings I got from it? Because every journey, every experience brings us through something to create something new. There's always the sun coming out after the storm. We just have to keep moving through the storm. And it's how we move through those storms that define us, that really create who we are. So, like you, I love sound. I love frequency. I love vibration. I teach classes as well on that. And I have a ton of sound instruments. People love to come play with all my instruments because I definitely have a wide range. So talk to us about frequency and vibration and why we need to understand how that heals us and how we move through that. So why is it so important?
That's something I'm actually moving through right now in terms of how to like how to explain this because it keeps changing as I keep evolving and I keep inviting more tools into my life. But I don't think of anything as good or bad. I don't like to think of, oh, this is a bad vibration, this is a good vibration. Oh, you're vibrating low, so you're not doing a good job, or you're vibrating high and yay. It's like we're all little radios and we're choosing to tune to a certain frequency. And if you're tuning to a higher frequency, not a better frequency, but a higher frequency, you're going to be experiencing different things in your physical reality that align with that higher frequency. So something I've been sharing with clients a lot lately, and I'm sure you've heard this before, is you are basically the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. And if you're around a bunch of people that are complaining more, repeating their stories that are keeping them where they are, and having these experiences that are not aligning with the experiences that you want to have, but you're kind of tuning to their frequency because you're surrounded by them, that is, I don't know if that resonates with you, but that's kind of what's going to happen when you are tuning that dial to that frequency. But when you put yourself in situations where you're consuming higher vibration content, whether that's on the internet or on TV or reading a book or going to sound baths or going to healing things, you're slowly helping yourself tune that dial to something that you want to be creating more of. So that's kind of how I like to look at it. Everything is frequency. Every single thing we have in this world is frequency. It just is a matter of tuning.
So I like that story. Here's how I look at it. So I'll share mine. I think all of us have our own sacred frequency, our own song, our own sound, our own chime when we come into this world. And as we come into this world and we experience the things around us, that song gets offset. The vibration shifts and changes from its perfection of who you are when you come in as a soul, because we're all perfect in that aspect. But as we have experiences, it's our blueprint, it's our energetic imprint that shifts and changes. I always talk about the 7 sacred keys of influence, because we have influences, exactly what you're saying, that changes our frequency. According to the universe, they don't look at energies as bad or good. They look at it as in harmony or disharmony. Disharmony means it's not in alignment with that perfect frequency that you are now in disharmony of who you are, or you're in harmony into those higher frequencies. And our choices, our thoughts, our decisions, our words, our actions all impact our energetic imprint, and everything around us influences that. So same idea, just a different way of, I always say, your energetic imprint is changing. When you're doing your spiritual work, when you're working on things, relationships will fall away, desires and wants will fall away, things that you thought you wanted will change, your career may change, your profession may change. It just means that your frequency is changing and you're becoming more in line with that divine, sacred soul vibration that you are, and it's coming in to reset. So I find people, Jen, that have a hard time with sound, that they are uncomfortable in a sound bath. And I find that most of that is they're fighting to stay within the cocoon that they've created, and they don't want to change. They don't want to be intuitive. They don't want to be guided. They don't want to change. They don't know how to change. So the more they hold on to that, and then you put sound in it, it's like this fight against each other. And so if you can relax, if you can surrender, if you can let go and let the sound frequency come in and work with you, you can see lots of major changes in your vibration, your frequency, your perspective, who you are, your life. Sound's a beautiful way to help us do that. So what are some of your favorite sound instruments and why?
Oh, well, of course I love the crystal bowls. They're not my absolute favorite, but I just love the feeling they give you. And I think it really speaks to what you were just talking about, because I think people get the most uncomfortable if they're holding on during the frequency of the crystal bowls, because they're so penetrating. Like you can really, really feel them. My particular favorite instrument in my sound baths is my harmonium, because it's like a little, have you seen a harmonium before?
Not sure.
So
What?
they use it for kirtan in yoga and ancient Indian practices for chanting. So it looks kind of like a little accordion. So there's like piano keys and then like a little pump. And I use that to sing with, and I get my clients to chant with me because I think it's very activating for people to use their throat chakra. And then I also learned how to sing a bunch of popular covers on it. So I do that too. It's really fun. But it's a beautiful instrument. And then, of course, I love chimes because I love the calming feeling of that sort of tinkly, sparkly, fairy sound. We have tons of different kinds of rain sticks, ocean drums, rain discs, and I love all of those water sounds. They feel very clearing. The buffalo drums I love because I feel we always start our sound baths with a buffalo drum, and it feels like it helps any of that frenetic energy that you're just kind of holding on to before you relax, moves it out of your body so that you can sink a little bit deeper into the experience. And they sound very tribal, which I love, that sort of indigenous feeling of earth and primal sound. Gosh, I've got so many things. Those are a few, but I have so many instruments.
Well, I know that you teach sound certification.
Mhm.
So what is your focus? So somebody interested in learning sound, what is your class on the overall that you try to help people to understand? Because not all of us can sing. We're not vocalists. So how do we use sound if we're not that? And how do you teach? What is your class all about?
Well, I will share really quickly that I know not everybody does sing, but everybody can sing, but I have had a lot of people come into my space that are like, well, I'm not a vocalist like you, but I've always wanted to sing. And then they'll sing in their practice sessions and they activate something in their voices and they're like, oh my God, that was amazing. And it makes them cry. And a lot of people have voice things that they bring out in my space. But by the time people listen to this, I may have my online course set because I'm going to create an online evergreen intro to sound healing certification course. But the way that I run it right now is in person in Reno, which of course I'll be in Virginia probably by the time people listen to this, and I will be doing it there as well. And I like to make it much more of a hands-on. Can you play with everything? Can you see what resonates with you? Can you find your unique voice? Like some people do it very scientifically and very specifically. I am not that person. I am like, hey, bring your inner child in here. Come play with everything. Come see what feels good to you. How do you want to express your unique sound healing voice? I have people that come in that do facials and they want to do sound healing with their facial clients. I've got people that do grief counseling. I've got people that are death doulas that want to use it in different capacity. So I want to give them a space where they can play, where they can ask questions, where they can have the freedom to make mistakes so that they don't feel like, oh, I have to do it right or wrong, and then see what pours through them from there. So basically the energetic container that I create is one of play, exploration, and then of course I give them the opportunity to assist me in my public sound bath so that they get a chance to watch and see what it looks like behind the scenes, work out their nerves on my audience with different instruments, and then have a chance to kind of see how I run things and then take what they think works well for them and then leave what doesn't feel good to them, basically. Kind of more of like a mentorship kind of thing.
I love that. I love that. Sound is such a beautiful way. I've had clients that have gotten relief from pain because they had stuck energy really wound tight in certain areas of their body. And over time, the sound started unwinding and releasing that, and they were able to be pain-free in areas where they've held pain for a long time. I have people who use it as a de-stressor, where they come in and unwind, and they notice when they miss a month, because we do these once a month, and they notice when they have missed a month because their life, it's very different. And so for some people that love sound, it's a really beautiful way. So no matter where you live or where you're listening, find some place to go and do a sound bath. Find some place to have a sound session. One of the key things to look for when you're looking for sound is, what kind of space are they holding it in? How big is it? The bigger it is, sometimes the less of the sound that you get, sometimes the smaller. I do it in a pretty small session room. And so everybody feels everything because it's, when you get into these big arenas, it's spreading out everywhere. And so you have to get really close sometimes. So just look at those things, check out some sound baths, find what works for you. Everybody has a different style. Everybody plays a little differently. Everybody uses different things. So just get out there and see what resonates, what you love, what works for you, because sound's really beautiful. Mm-hmm. One of the other things, Jen, that I know you do is retreats. So talk to us about, as a retreat facilitator, what do you like to bring to retreats? What are your retreats like? Because I also notice you like to go and collaborate with other retreat facilitators. So share a little bit about that with our audience.
So I love to make the spiritual retreats that I host, or the ones that I collaborate with, about connection, slowing down, having space to be with people and having space to be yourself. And so the things like, I've got one coming up in September, and I like to do silent mornings with a little bit of chanting meditation. I do daily yoga, I do cacao ceremonies, sound healing, but then a lot of space in between so that there's time to integrate the time away from your phone, time away from your work, time away from your life, where you can just be with yourself and hear anything that's usually trying to come through when you're too busy to listen to it. So it's like a sacred pause, a time to connect with others and also connect with yourself. I'm really, really into the collective. A lot of the work that I'm here to do is to help with connection and people getting to know each other on a deeper level that I don't think we get a lot of in our day-to-day busy technology life. And so I really like to facilitate a space where people can talk say the things that they're afraid to say in front of maybe their regular people or their family, and really feel empowered to speak from a place of authenticity, even if they don't quite know what that means yet. They always find it in the circles that I create.
I love that. I love that. And I love doing retreats too for the same reason, because we're so hooked up 24/7 to technology to take a step back and turn all that off. And where I do a retreat today, your phone doesn't work. So you can take your phone up there
Nice.
all day long, but there is no internet. No, there's nothing up there. You might be able to get a chat through, but you're not going to be able to open an app or send photos or do it. It's just, we're in the mountains, and so there's no connection. So they really do have to unplug for several days. So I love that as well, that it's set in a place that your phone doesn't work. So
That's so good.
no technology here. When I was in HR, I always wanted, when managers went on vacation, I always wanted them to collect all their laptops, their phones, their business accounts, so that they could truly unplug without any connection for 7 days. I mean, nothing's going to fall apart to the point that it needs to, but managers don't typically get to do their vacations, or executives, but just to have a rule that when you go on vacation for 7 days, we're not going to talk to you, and you don't have any way to connect in. We don't get that opportunity very often. Think about it. We're all so tied and plugged into everything that we do. So talk to us about your coaching, because I also know that you offer coaching. So talk to us about your style of coaching and your approach, and what is your ideal client that you like to work with?
So I've been business coaching for several years, and it's evolved a lot over the years of kind of seeing what people were coming to me with and the struggles that they have. And everybody comes with, I want more clients. I want more business because I'm running this thing that I really love, and I'm having a hard time getting those things. And what it usually has come down to, at least with all the people that I'm calling in, which I do think is my ideal client, is the person that wants to do the deeper work so they can show up in a more authentic way, is that people are really afraid of being seen fully for who they are. And that stops them from posting as much as they could be, from selling the things that they're working with, the programs that they're selling and the offers that they have. They are afraid to put themselves out there enough in order to be seen so that they can receive the clients that they want. And so I did start my coaching business to be a little bit more, I'm really good at technology, I'm good at building websites, I'm good at building funnels and all of the tech stuff behind it. And I was doing a little bit of hand holding there, but it just kept evolving into, people wanted more of the healing work and the embodiment work that it takes. I think that entrepreneurship is one of the most healing things you will ever do in your life, because it is so confronting. You really have to look at yourself all the time, because it, especially like me and you, we're the face of our business. That's a lot to put yourself on the internet out in front of potentially everyone who could find you and come say crap to you about like how, oh, your business is dumb or you look whatever. Like, they can say all these things. And if you've got childhood wounds around being seen, or fears around how you're perceived, or you're afraid your family's going to think you're crazy, or you're coming out of the spiritual closet and you think people are going to make fun of you, or whatever it is, it will stop you from calling in your clients, because you're not showing up in the way that you need to for them to hear what you have to say so that they want to work with you. And so my coaching has evolved completely into energetics. Like, I will do strategy sessions with people. I will talk to them about that all day long, and I will help them find what feels good to them. But if your energetics are not in line with what it is that you're offering and what it is that you want to call in, you can advertise all day long, but your voice isn't going to come through, and it's not going to bring who you need. So that's really what my coaching is all about. That's how I operate, is on healing, embodiment. I work on, I've got all kinds of tools that I use for that, but that's what I focus on.
I love that. I love that, because it's really true. It's, when I find somebody that wants to start a business that's very much an introvert, that has a hard time speaking in front of people or sharing their voice, I always hold a space for them, because I know that's going to be a big struggle, because you can't run, you can't be an entrepreneur if you're afraid to stand up and talk to people, if you're afraid to connect, if you're afraid to share. That's got to be one obstacle that you got to get through, because you're right. You're standing in front of everybody. And if you're afraid of being judged or criticized, you have to get through that too, because not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to align with you. And there is some of that comes along with this as well. I know I've been in business for almost 8-9 years now doing this. And you would think everybody's all fluffy and lovey and everything's going to be loving. And it doesn't, it's not that way. It's called the real world. So you got to be able to have your voice and understand who you are and be authentic to you, no matter what anybody else or what you think they're thinking. And that can be tough for people.
But I do want to share that, like, I am currently unpeeling layers of that onion. I've been in business for years. I am successful, but I'm looking toward my next level and what it is that I'm moving into. And with that comes visibility wounds and worries about judgment that I'm currently working through with my own tools or whatever. And so I think sometimes people will hear, like, you need to get over this huge, terrifying thing for you or you can't be in business. And I don't think that that's true. I just think that if you can accept that if you want to start a business and that is one of your wounds and that's going to be challenging for you, that's just going to be part of the work that it takes for you to get there, not to let it stop you completely. Does that make sense? Like, I really like people to, even if they're not sure, take the messy action. If you feel the soul call to do it, you can find a way. And that's why mentors are important, because they can help hold your hand during those challenging parts and make sure that you don't give up while you're trying to figure it out.
Right. No, I get that. But I have also seen, as I've held people's hands, they just can't be in an audience or in a group or more than one-on-one. And they have they can't do a video or they can't get on. They're like, oh no. Right. You have to be able to know that you're willing to work through that, to get through that, to do that, to show up in the world so that people can find you. They're not going to find you at home if you're not doing something to get out there, right? If you're not,
but there's ways though. I mean, there's ways for introverts to do, but like that's why I think authenticity is also really powerful, because there are people that make faceless videos and they do well. So there are things that you can do. I think that you clearly are a very extroverted person, right?
well, no, I have made myself that way because I needed to have a business to be out front and people see me as an extrovert, but I also like my quiet time. But I'm talking about, yeah, you can do those videos, but if you're going to be a business, you got to be able to talk about it. You got to be able to meet with people. You got to be up front and be able to do that. And I know lots of people that just can't do that. That's why they've chosen not to do this, right? And that's okay. It's not for everyone. It is for the right people. And yes, there are wounds that we can work through and healing that we can get through. And that's important too. But I know people that can't even tell me what their business is about. So when I ask them, who are you and what do you do? They can't explain what they do. And you've got to get to that point to explain who you are and what you do. You show up very well. I can tell who you are from your website, and your personality shows through that. But there are people that if you ask them who they are, they have no idea. And that's the work they have to do to find out who they are, what they're about, so that they can share it and get comfortable with being authentic, right? So there's work
That's the kind of work that I like to do. So that's the kind of stuff that I like to do with people. If they come to me and they're like, I have a desire to do something, but I don't know how to talk about myself. I don't know who I am. I don't know how to tell you what I do. I like to help them through that if they are in alignment with me. And I'm not here to drag anybody who isn't willing to do the work, but the people that are, I don't know. I don't love the word can't. I'm very like, I'm just like, I don't know that there's people that can't do it. I think everybody can do everything if they really, really want to.
If they really want to, right? But they have to be ready to do that. So, right? And so that's just can be tough for lots of people. So, yeah. So it has been great chatting with you today and being able to spend this time with you. It's been really wonderful. And I've loved being able to share information. I hope that you'll like, comment, and follow us on your favorite channel. And I hope that we'll see you in the future as well. I hope you have a sacred and magical week. And thanks so much for listening today.
Thank you for joining us. To find out more about Vialet, head over to discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. You can also send a personal message to Vialet through email, violet@discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. If you love the show, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Until next time, remember, we are meant to have abundant and joyful lives. We hope to see you soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.